Guys, today we're going to jump back on the AT-1 to CT-1 Yamaha. I've got the cases ready to go. I've got the crankshaft ready to go, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start by putting the crankshaft in the case, and then we'll continue on with the gear sets and everything. So let's get to it here. I've got it all kind of lined up here already. Let me get you down here a little ways. All right. I've got our shim. I've got some grease on here to hold the shim in place, and I'm going to put a little oil on the crankshaft where the seal goes and the bearing goes. I've already put some assembly lube in here. I just want I use this here. It's a camshaft lifter pre-lube. Yeah. And it's just a thicker oil so that we're not going to have a dry start. And it will dissipate soon after it starts injecting gas in there. Okay, so we've got our seal on, we've got the seal in, we get the bearing in, we've got the shim. Let's see here. I think you're going to want to see mostly on the other side, so let me get you set up over there. Okay. I'm going to set up the crank puller here. Got one of these Tusk crank puller, crank installer. We've got a little keyway here. Where's that keyway? There it is. Difficulty here getting the shaft and the key both lined up. There's the shaft. There. All right. Wow. Keep the rod up out of the way. All right, feels like it's all the way down. And there we go. Seal and everything's where it ought to be. Okay. Okay, back around the other side here now. I'm going to go ahead and get the O-ring on here. You don't want to forget to put a new one on there because you can have a leak around that collar that goes over that. So don't try to use the old one. There. And we'll just, when we get ready to put the other case in, we'll grease that up a little bit. But at least it's there. It's already in there, so I don't have to worry about it. Everything feels good there. Okay guys, before I get too much further here, the one other thing I want to address here in this case, if you look right here, I think you can see it, the kickstarter pawl here has been coming up onto the case there, and you know, I really doubt if you can see that, but that is what's doing that. And what it is this has got too much play in it, up and down play. Now if you look at, if you go online and you look at the Partzilla or Rocky Mountain parts list, they won't show a washer here. But some of the old books do. And it's a select fit type thing. You put in whatever you need. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attempt to measure this, and the first thing we need to do is get this out of the way. So, but you need it in there for your total distance. So if we can take our snap ring out and just push that spring over and put it 180 out so it's on the inside of the case there. And then let's put our snap ring back on. Okay. Now we'll put our gasket in there. You got to make sure of that because that's part of the equation. Okay, see that? There's a lot of play there. Look at that. It's almost 50 thousandths. 52. I don't have it bolted down. I don't think we need to. It's as it should be. But that's what's happening. Is that's being allowed to move out too far and then lifts up onto that case surface in there. So we're looking at, let's just call it 50 thousandths. We need a shim in there. And I suppose I could buy one. It needs to go right here. It needs to go between here and this boss right here. So I suppose that I could buy one, have to wait another week to get it, but you know how I am. I'm just going to make one and press forward here. I want to get this engine put back together, and there's no reason why not to make our own. So I think what I'm going to do is make it at about 40 thousandths, and that should give us 10 to play with. So we're going to go over to the lathe and we're going to build one. First off, we're going to measure this, find out about what we need. I'm looking at about 0.8 or 0.785, so we'll make it about 790 on the ID, and look at about what we have to deal with in here. I'm just going to try to include most of the size of that boss. 1.10 I think is where we'll go, and then 40 thousandths thick. So let's move on over to the lathe and see if we can get this done. Okay, I've got a piece of DOM tubing. That's actually, this shoulder here is pretty close to what I need. I'll have to take it back a little bit more to get a cut out of it, but I need to increase the diameter of the inside diameter about 20 thousandths. So that's what we're going to do first. Now we'll remove some of the diameter. Face it off a little bit, make sure it's flat. Chamfer the edges a little bit. And the inside. Now we'll set it up for cutting our thickness. Okay, I'm just dragging there, so I'm within about 2 thousandths. Set my DRO. I believe I better check this again, but I think it's 187, the thickness of my blade. Oh no. 0.86. Okay, what I did was I moved it over with the DRO the width of the blade. Then I moved it 40 thousandths more. So that should give us a 40 thousandths cut here, or a shim. Pretty close anyway. Okay. Let's measure up our shim. Oh, I missed it a 1/2 thousandths. Yep. Oh, there it goes. All right. Fits right down on there. Got my gasket. Case is down. It's like about 12 or 13 thousandths. Back over at the engine here. I think that'll eliminate that problem with the eating into the case. Now I want to point out something that I've noticed. See, the gear set that I'm using has got a flat thrust washer here. Now there are some out there that have the thrust washer made into the shaft. That's the case with this one. I don't know whether it's an earlier one or a later one, but I've got a couple of them, a couple sets like this. But the majority of the ones I have anyway are like this with the washer. So if you've got one that's got the thrust washer made onto the shaft like that, you don't need the washer. Now we've already been through all the putting the gears in and out and all that, but we're gonna get one more shot at it here. And before I do that, I do want to get just a little bit of, I'm not going to be able to see this. Yeah, I can tip it down here. I just want to put some assembly lube. You know, I kind of really need it. So to run into the bearing there. Put a little assembly lube in there. And I'm not going to put it in the little bearing. I'm going to use oil there. I'm afraid I'll hydraulically lock it and the shaft won't seat. Okay, so that's all prepped. These things don't turn. Maybe a little bit of grease. Up there where the drum goes in. Alright, it's back over here to our gear set. And again, this is your counter shaft. This is where the sprocket's going to go. That's going to go through the bearing, the big bearing, and then this one here will go into the smaller needle bearing. Then we've got to get these little trunnions put back on here. Put some grease on them. Just so they'll stay put. And you've got one on this one too. I don't know whether you can hear the wind howling or not. It's pretty bad today. All right, now the proper thing to do is have all this put together. When you put it in, and you want to put it in neutral. So let me kind of get this set up. One thing you can leave out is this pin, because you can put that in later and it will, believe me or not, it will make it easier to put in. Let me get this set back up over here. Now this is not the most graceful thing to do in the world. Here's how I've got it. Neutral, you've got your detent plug that goes in here with the ball on it, and it goes right into here. So that's how we can tell it's in neutral. So let's see if we can get this. Of course, all that's going to fall apart there. No, not in the cards right now. Let me get some grease on this stuff so it doesn't fall apart. Close, but not there yet. Alright, it was a fight to the bitter end, but I got it in there. During the fitment process for these, for the close ratio box, I probably had this in and out of there 6, 7, 8 times, and never had as much trouble as I just had. But it's, you know, it was all dry then, except for these little pieces here where you had to put some grease on them to keep them from falling off. But anyhow, we're in. Everything's meshed up. Now we're going to put the keepers and whatnot on the other side. so we don't have stuff falling out on us. Got to hold on to it for a while here yet. Okay, we've got a shim and a keeper, and that'll fall out if you don't put the cover over it. Screwdriver. Doing it all by feel here. I can't really see it. You probably got a better vantage point than I do at this point. All right. Now, put that on there, and let's see here. Is this the right nut? Looks pretty close to the one on the, may even be the same as the one on the clutch side. That one doesn't like it as well. Yeah, I think they're probably the same thing. Just going to put this on there loosely just to keep everything where it should be. All right. Now, let's take a look here. Make sure we're still, yep, still in neutral. Got a little grease on the ball here. For some reason it's got two gaskets. I'm not going to put two in it. Okay, and then our neutral safety switch. And I'm just going to leave them in loose. All right. All right, guys. Now this is the last time you're going to get to see this. So you want to make sure that everything is mashed, nothing loose in there. Your pins are all in. We know that we have neutral. That's where we're at right now. You can hold the sprocket on the other side and it doesn't turn, so we're good. So we've got all this stuff. The next step is to get the surfaces cleaned up here and on the other case, and get ready to put our 3-bond on it. So I just used some lacquer thinner. And also you want to make sure you've got all your dowel pins in. Got two here, one here and one here. But this is the next step, to make sure everything's clean. Alright, we've got everything clean. Use whatever you need to make sure everything's clean. And then we apply our Yamaha bond, or in this case it's 3-bond. It's the Kawasaki version. Guys, we've got a little oil squirted around in here so that it's got a friendly start. And we are now going to put the 3-bond on. And we'll get the 3-bond all over the case. See if we can keep it off our fingers. There, we're getting our installer installed. I got this started and then remembered I had put that O-ring on the crankshaft, and I shouldn't have done that. That goes on after this is all together. I've got where the boss is up here for the pin. It's a little bit higher, so I've got a piece of steel in here to compensate. Okay, we're down. All right, everything is free. look like we're squished out all over the place here, so let me get this thing turned around and we'll start putting some bolts in. Okay, I've got most of these started here, and I went and bought a seal retainer. They're available on still on the Yamaha website. A lot of different ways I've seen over the years to keep those in, but this is Yamaha's fix. Okay, got one screw that I don't seem to have, so let me see if I can find one. There's our crank free. Everything else seems to be, and I'm going to go around and clean off the excess of the 3-bond. All right, now guys, I'm gonna put the O-ring on. I don't think it would survive going around the bearing. I just happened to look back there to make sure, and I saw it and I said that's not going to work. So we're getting it in there now. It wasn't too big a deal. All right, let's get let's see, just a little bit of oil on it. And on the seal too, where its collar is going to go in. Double check our seal. Everything looks good. It's all down. And our gear goes on with the recess down. Well, this is a special little washer. It's concave. It's not flat on the back side. When you tighten it down, it will push that down. It's like a spring. So that's your lock. And I'm just going to set it there like that for now. I'm going to go ahead and get our shift shaft through there. A little oil on it. Remember, I showed you how to adjust the shaft up here in the drum by using the eccentric in the last engine video, I think it was, the first one. If you have shifting problems, that's where you're going to have to look. Is you're going to have to adjust here, and what it is you're trying to line the pins in here. I believe you've got to be in second, third, or fourth gear, and you're getting the pin distance from the pin itself to this place on the shaft or the shift shaft, and the same on the other side. So just pay attention to that. If you've got problems shifting, that's how to correct it. Alright, let's get our follower up here. Apologize, my old fat fingers in the way there. This is kind of sets down in a, yeah, it's got to be loose. Actually, I'm gonna put just a little Loctite on that. Just to make sure she don't come out. And this is great blue Loctite, so it can be removed easily. And then we've got our spring. And that hooks up. Should have been in the other way. Probably should have. Let me take that out real quick before it sets up. Okay, it works better if the spring goes in from the top like this. That way you've got something to grab a hold of up here and be out of the way of what you've got to stick it into back there. So just keep that in mind. Save you a little headache. There, fits right in now. Okay. Okay, that's in. Let me see, I think I'll turn this around. So I can see, or so you can see here, it's easier this way. You've got a washer over here that goes up against the seal, and then a snap ring. There. Okay, so that's all in, and we've got, remember to put your collar in here. I've got it in right there. And let's see. Oh, there it is. And then we have our sprocket, our washer, and our nut. All right, and get her back around the other side. Now let's see, can you see? And we've got our idler, kickstart idler. It's going to go on. We'll put a little oil in it. And we've got a washer and a snap ring. And then, of course, we've got our kickstarter. It's going to go in here and put a little oil on it. You've got the spring that's right here that goes in this pocket. And I put this spring back to where it was for proper installation, and it is then going to go around here and then around the, not like that, just like that. You can see now how this comes up and gets the idler. And we've got our shim on here. And I think we're going to stop right there. I think the video is going to run a little long. So when we come back, we'll work on getting the clutch on. Well, we'll just finish buttoning up this area here all together. But for now, I'm going to call it a day on this one. You know, if you like what we're doing here, please give me a thumbs up and a subscription. I appreciate it. And like I say, when we get back, we'll take care of tightening all this stuff up and finishing up everything inside the cover here. So thanks for going along on the ride. See you next video.